What's going on to all my American Horror Story fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of the latest episode of Season 10 of American Horror Story, and today we'll be discussing Episode 4, which is titled Blood Buffet, an episode in which we see the origins of when the pills first hit the streets of P-Town, and we also meet the origins and meet the beginnings of some of our characters in this new season. We're breaking it all down here in the spoiler review, but before we dive into it all, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to like and share this review. It really helps out the channel a lot, but also appreciate the support. And in those comments, full spoilers, ladies and gentlemen. So if you haven't seen this 4th episode, go check it out and come back and join the conversation. But we're talking spoilers, so I need to know from you all, what did you think about the chemist and her working for the government, aliens, as well as seeing the origins and the toxic relationship that Belle was in, seeing where Austin was before all this stuff, and we see how the first pale creature came about. What were some of your favorite moments, least favorite moments, and of course your thoughts and theories for what you hope to see in the weeks ahead? Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. So just my initial thoughts of this 4th episode. Being a fan of this American Horror Story franchise, I knew inevitably we were going to get a backstory of either P-Town, obviously the chemist and the pills, and I'll say this, I am a little bit in the middle about my overall thoughts of this episode, and we'll clearly break it down. But I knew, being an American Horror Story fan, that we were going to get this flashback. So I personally enjoy that we got it much earlier in the season versus like 8 episodes, 9 episodes in, and it kind of feel a misplaced. So I do appreciate that it was much earlier. And who knows, we might even get another origin story to really dive deeper into the town and to really dive deeper into the chemist and her working for the government and where these pills really do come from. But it was just something, I wish there was more emotions in this episode in regards to, I wish the pale creature was maybe more personally connected to the chemist. I wish that there was a little bit more of the Karen character, who I love. Sarah Paulson, she's an executive producer this season, and obviously she's the queen of American Horror Story, but I wish Karen had a little bit more to do in the story, which I think inevitably later down the season she's going to play a more pivotal part. But it was just something missing with me in this episode. Again, I enjoyed the backstory. I just wish it was maybe woven into the main plot, to the main narrative, instead of for just solely focus on stuff that really didn't answer all the questions. But again, we'll get into it. Again, I didn't hate the episode by any means, but I just think out of the 4 episodes, it's probably my least favorite, to say the least. But let me know your thoughts on the episode, of course, and is this your favorite episode, your 4th favorite episode? Let's talk about it. But let's get into this breakdown, as again, this is a full up origin story. There's no Gardner family, there's no Ursula, so we go back 5 years before our current timeline, in which we meet the chemist. We see that she's, touring the house that she's currently living in, getting shown the house to by Holden Vaughn, and he's talking about the town and all that different stuff. But it's within this moment that we get a little backstory from the chemist, right? She mentions that she just left her job as a chemist. She's working for the government, and she's recently had a divorce. And this is where I said, more personal ties. I almost wish that her significant other was with her when looking at this house and moving with her to this town, and maybe she gave her, or he or she, the pill, and kind of tie it more to the pale person was the chemist's husband, or whatever the case may be. I wish it was a little bit more connected ties, but nonetheless, we see her cooking up the pills, and this is where we get, okay, this is where she began. This is where she laid her seeds to kind of go to P-Town and share these drugs, which again, we really don't know exactly what's in the pills. I imagine that will be revealed a little bit later, but a really interesting way to open up the episode, no less. But a character that I wasn't expecting to be a pivotal part of the show, but that's definitely have changed that, and that is Mickey, as we see that he was one of the first people to come into connections to the chemist as well as the pill, as we see that he's out at the bar trying to flirt with her as far as the chemist, and she's like, I'm not there for that, but let me come back to my place and let's talk a little bit of business, as she maybe wants to use him as her very first test subject. So this is where, again, we get a little bit more of her backstory. Again, she works for the government, which as soon as she said government, I'm like, aliens, especially knowing the poster of this show where we get a pale creature and we get an alien. I think that she might have come in contact with some aliens back in her previous job. And also it makes me think too, if she was so tied into, as she talks about, that she tests with, she did different studies on like unlocking the brain and the human capabilities, I wonder how easily it was for her to get out of her position. If she's working on this type of top secret type of project, I wonder if there's people looking for her that might tie into future episodes. But again, as soon as she said government, I'm like, okay, there's aliens connected to this story, and she probably knows something about the aliens that will be probably the part 2 of this season. But as we move forward, again, the importance of Mickey, she offers him to take the pill because they get to talking about him being talented and writing and stuff of that nature. He's never shown anyone his work. And Mickey had the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to take the pill, but inside of him, this is where I'm saying that Mickey's a much more pivotal character than I initially thought. He could have took the pill, but morally and just ethically and just him having, a good human compass, of course he does some things that are very suspect, but he's just like, I don't want to take that risk. I don't want to take that chance. But almost scratched that, because he's like, she offers him, I'll give you $50 if you can find me a test subject, which makes you just, okay, Mickey does have some, some gray morals, some, he's not a good guy, not a bad guy. He's just in between and just searching for happiness, searching for purpose in life. But again, he had the opportunity to be the very first person to take the pill, and he didn't do that. He passed up on that opportunity, which this is where we see him talking to Karen, which again, Sarah Paulson, love her to death, executive producer. She really hasn't been that important to the show so far, which I'm hoping that changes sooner rather than later. Obviously, we saw in episode 1, she's giving the babies to Belle and all that stuff, and she's popped in and out of the season. But I hope that we get more of Karen in the series and play more of a pivotal role in all this stuff. But nonetheless, it's almost alluding to Mickey using her, but they seem to be friends, so he doesn't want to have her be harmed. But nonetheless, he ends up choosing the singer, who seems to be not that talented, as the first subject, which we'll talk about his connections and who the singer is. But I really do wish that the very first person that took the pill, again, emotionally, I wish it was someone that was maybe personally connected to the chemist. Again, whether it was a husband or a wife or a brother, a sister, a child, just to kind of, again, just to show her moral compass, that she just really wants to crack the code of the human brain, and she will use anyone, even someone close to her, to do that. But nonetheless, just a random person who's a singer who ends up being a very important character moving forward. But as we kind of move on, we meet Belle. We see she is far from an award-winning author, as she is at a book signing. There's barely anyone there, and this is where I felt really bad for Belle, as we meet her less than supportive husband, who was a complete asshole, as he's talking about the book tour, their sex life, and then he goes even deeper and say, you're weak and you're extremely boring. Ever since I retired, I realized how terrible of a person you are. I'm like, this dude, you're gonna die really soon, and you're probably gonna deserve it, which we'll talk about that kill a little bit later. But it was just interesting to see, knowing how we first met Belle and just how confident she was, and she seems to be a queen bee, and then just seeing the more, subdued and just kind of, abused wife in this situation was really interesting to kind of see that dynamic. But in regards to going back to the first interactions of characters, we see Mickey and Belle interacting for the first time, which is just such a 180 from when we first saw Mickey and Belle interact with each other, and how the dynamic and how different the dynamic of the relationship was, which was fascinating to see from obviously the previously 3 episodes. But she gets into talking about her experience of being a self-published writer and all that different stuff. And, she asks Mickey, because of course Mickey's, the neighborhood meth head, hey, you got any Coke? He says, no, I don't have any Coke, but I'll give you something else, which we see her dancing and all that stuff, which was funny to see nonetheless. But we get into, this is where Mickey takes her, hey, you want something to give you a really good high and really kind of take advantage of the talents that you do have, because you are a talented individual. He takes her to the chemist, and in between all that stuff happening, they're still at the Muse. We see that the singer is transforming into the first pale creature. So we get into Mickey taking her to the chemist, and we see that obviously at this point, Belle, with a terrible husband that she has and her career not taking off financially, she's not in the best position, and they put all their money into this book tour. She's willing to do whatever it takes. So she takes the pill, and the only thing that she has to do is let the chemist study her. And we see at this point, this is where we get into the husband getting what he deserved. As she goes back to their hotel room. She's starting to type, writes her entire book. She's happy about it. She's just so excited. Husband comes in, and he just completely kills her vibe, as he's talking about, met a random woman, had sex with her a few times, and this is over. I am done with you. I am so, you're despicable. He makes fun of her book and this, that, and the other, and just out of anger, she takes a bottle, breaks the bottle, slits his throat, and that's her first victim, her husband, which he deserved that. That dude was a straight up asshole. But nonetheless, I wonder if the girl is ever going to be a character. Like, I wonder who he slept with, but that's neither here nor there. We see her go back to the chemist, and obviously this is where we get the backstory of, and we know this is the audience now, but this is where we get the understanding of the bloodthirst and how different it is in regards to the talented person wanting blood and how she tested on apes, which I don't think she tested on apes. I think she tested on humans or aliens, but nonetheless, she gets to talk about the differences between the two, and this is where we see at this point the singer is full up transforming into the pale creature, and we see the process taking forth, and he comes to the chemist, and she's like, stay the F away from me or I'll kill you. And this is where we see a really cool callback as he goes to Lark to get some clothes, and this is obviously where we get the callback of how he got his suit or his jacket, and obviously that's the same creature that we met in the very first episode, and we see his very first victim is just a poor innocent woman that wants to pray, and unfortunately the other word of prey, she is his very first prey, as we see his bloodthirst and we see the rage and all that different stuff. So really interesting way to kind of tie into who was the very first pale creature. But nonetheless, we kind of move forward into time 2 years after that first event. So we see at this point Belle is a much different person, and her and Lark are sharing stories about how they killed their previous lovers, how they had their success stories, and this is where we see the transformation and Belle and how she's wearing her wardrobe and the more confidence that she has ever since she's took the pill. She's written books and written screenplays, and had a screenplay of hers get turned into a actual full-length feature. But then we get another character in Austin, and this was pretty funny. Austin, aka Patio Furniture, which was just a funny name for his drag queen name. But we see that he's not really befriended by his other drag queen associates, and they're picking fun of him. They don't really have confidence in him and just kind of bringing him down when he's on stage and all that different stuff. But this is where we obviously see that Belle sees her next protege, and she offers the pill. He takes the pill, and we end the episode on them going to his drag queen friend's house, who again made fun of him. And this is his first thirst. This is his first kill. As he kills everyone in the room, we see that the crystal character runs out in the forest and gets eaten by the pale creature, which was an interesting way to end the episode. Like I said, there's some good stuff in the episode. The origins of the chemist, to a certain extent, we don't know again if she's on the run from the government, if she was told not to continue to proceed with her experiments, if she experimented on humans, if it was aliens, and things of that nature. And again, is her husband going to be looking for her, or whoever her husband or wife is looking for her after she said she's going through a nasty divorce? So that's something that I hope to expand upon. But seeing Belle and seeing Austin, that was really unique. I just wish that, like I said, narratively, creatively, I wish they would have been able to find a way to take this origin flashback and weave it into the current timeline, so it can just kind of play a little bit better into the narrative. But again, I knew it was coming as far as flashback. I just wish it was a little bit more creatively involved in regards to the emotional ties to the chemist, and maybe having someone close to her be someone she tested on, which could be the case. Like I said, we might get that in the future, but I wish that the first pale creature was someone a little bit more important to the narrative, more important to one of our characters, versus just being a random singer who just happened to be at the muse at the wrong time and at the wrong place. But again, it had some good moments. I just wish it hit me more in the entertaining, more emotional beats than what it didn't do for me personally. But again, it wasn't a terrible episode. It's not my favorite. It's my least favorite out of the four. But I'm hoping that next week, obviously, we pick up to Ursula talking to Harry and what's going on with Doris and Alma and all that stuff. So overall, a solid episode, but my least favorite out of the four. But that's just my thoughts on this episode. Let me know your pros, your cons, of course, your thoughts, your theories about really what the government, who she was experimenting on, and things of that nature. And let's talk about Karen. Will we get more of her in the storyline? And again, Mickey, very first person to come across the pills, and he did not take it, but he now has taken it. So let's talk about that in the comments. Of course, I appreciate every single you all watching this video. Before you head out, if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other reviews for movies and shows and all the fun stuff we do on this very channel. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you're enjoying your day. We'll see you in the next video.